And then we are going to begin live streaming. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're going to get started in just a minute. Okay, great. I'm going to kick us off here. Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this stakeholder briefing. Sorry if I'm a little quiet. I am sick right now, but working through that. My name is Emerald Sage. I am with Vote Solar, a national nonprofit working to realize a 100% clean energy future through a solutions-driven, people-first approach. I am joined here today by representatives from the impressive, diverse coalition that got California's Community Solar and Storage Bill AB 2316 passed a year ago. Derek Chernow from the Coalition of Community Solar Access, Alexis Sutterman from the California Environmental Justice Alliance, Zach Liu from the California Green New Deal Coalition, Matt Friedman from the Utility Reform Network, or TURN, and Marianne Borgeson from the National Resources Defense Council, or NRDC. Now, a year later, we are here to ensure that the Public Utilities Commission will make affordable, reliable, equitable, clean solar energy available to all Californians. Some housekeeping before we get started and hear from these incredible panelists. Please submit your questions and answers through the Q&A feature that will be available throughout the call. If you can make your question specific to the person that you want to respond, that would be wonderful, but not required. And then we'll call on the folks who submitted the questions at the end of the call. And now to get started, it is my pleasure to turn it over to Derek with CCSA.
Thank you, Emerald. I'm Derek Chernow with the Coalition for Community Solar Access, which represents 120 plus companies across the country. As Emerald mentioned, a year ago, Governor Newsom signed AB 2316 as part of a package of priority climate bills to evaluate and replace a decade of failed attempts at creating community solar programs in California. After months of evaluation, the California Public Utilities Commission is expected to issue its proposed community solar decision in the coming weeks. Right now is decision time for the PUC. It is either a community solar plus storage program supported by leading environmental justice organizations, ratepayer advocates, labor, and the building industry, among others, or continuation of a failed program backed by the utilities. This is especially concerning as application deadlines for billions in federal funding from the Inflation Reduction Act are fast approaching. With no functioning community solar program in place, there is a real risk that California could lose out on billions of dollars from EPA's Solar for All program, as a solid program spurs critical private investment. As it stands now, the Solar for All program is highly competitive among states. EPA reported receiving over 270 notices of intent, requesting $40 billion, and this is only a $7 billion pot of money. Solar for All programs that maximize the number of low-income households it serves will be more favorable, as EPA has indicated in its guidance. To meet various grant requirements, Solar for All programs must demonstrate how it will deliver meaningful benefits to low-income communities, address current market barriers to low-income solar deployment, and maximize access for low-income and disadvantaged communities. All of these requirements can be achieved only through community solar plus storage. Community solar is the most equitable way to distribute solar energy and its benefits. It works for renters, residents in multi-unit buildings, and even businesses that do not own their roof. As Alexis and Zach will share, a strong Solar for All grant application to the EPA will be essential to ensure that California's solar energy is serving low-income and disadvantaged communities. I'm going to take a second here to share my screen. So bear with me. Okay, so what you're seeing here on the screen obviously is a map of the Golden State, but it's important to note that community solar, or the blue dots in this map, could be offset or could offset polluting peaker plants, which are the yellow stars, in low-income communities and communities of color. A graphic representation of the impact that community solar plus storage can have here in California. But this becomes reality only if the CPUC finalizes a scalable community solar plus storage program and the state government submits a strong Solar for All application by October 12th. We cannot let our communities fall further behind. California can and should be a leader in reliable, equitable, and affordable community solar and storage. We are counting on the PUC to do the right thing and finalize a scalable community solar program as soon as possible. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to Alexis and Matt.
Great, thank you so much, Derek. I'm Alexis Sutterman, Energy Equity Program Manager for the California Environmental Justice Alliance.
And I'm Zach Liu, Director for the California Green New Deal Coalition. We strongly believe that community solar and storage must play an important role in a just energy system. But right now, as Derek was outlining, California is far behind other states in deploying community solar and storage. And I think we're running a real risk that our clean energy future will not be equitable. That's why the California Environmental Justice Alliance, the California Green New Deal Coalition, and Vote Solar recently submitted environmental justice and equity recommendations to the state in preparation for the federal Solar for All funding opportunity, which has an upcoming application deadline next month on October 12th. I'll pass it back to Alexis to go over the first two of those recommendations that we submitted. And I'm gonna, in the meantime, put a link to the summary of our recommendations in the chat. Back to you, Alexis.
Thanks, Zach. So we believe a majority of Solar for All funds should really go to support enhancing benefits and opportunities for equitable community solar and storage, especially given that renters and low-income communities have historically been locked out of options for solar savings. In our recommendations, we shared three key recommendations with the state in order to make this possible. First, ensuring at least a 20% utility bill discount for low-income and disadvantaged households that subscribe to community solar and storage projects. As many of you know and are experiencing, rates from the state's three largest investor-owned utilities have been skyrocketing in recent years, and this especially hurts working-class households who spend more of their income on their utility bills than the average household. Higher energy burden can lead to health issues and increased economic stress. Those who are struggling to pay utility bills may be forced to cut back on other necessities such as food and medicine. Using federal funding to ensure a 20% bill savings discount would allow immediate relief, especially when stacked with other discounts such as the CARE and FARA discount. This would also help advance solar equity in the state, allowing renters and low-income families to finally see options to benefit from the clean energy transition. Our second recommendation is to incentivize community solar and storage projects that can help us retire peaker gas plants in disadvantaged communities that are living on the fence lines of these polluting facilities. Specifically, we support funding for rooftop projects in transmission-constrained areas, also called local reliability areas, where peaker gas plants are frequently used to meet peak energy loads. Gas plants release harmful pollutants, including nitrous oxide, sulfur, and mercury. Exposure to these pollutants leads to higher rates of asthma, bronchitis, lung cancer, and other serious illnesses. Peaker gas plants make the air especially toxic as they are quickly ramped on and off during times of peak energy demand, which results in even higher nitrous oxide emissions than usual. Without new local generation and storage, vulnerable communities will continue suffering in the shadows of these polluting facilities. On the other hand, we see Solar for All funding as an opportunity to encourage the strategic siting and development of community solar and storage projects where the grid needs them most and where environmental justice communities most need relief from peaker gas plant pollution. Passing it back over to Zach.
Thanks, Alexis. For our third and sort of final recommendation that we submitted is really for the state to create a statewide revolving loan fund that is paired with technical assistance grants that will specifically support community-owned community solar and storage projects. This comes about through an opportunity in the Inflation Reduction Act called the direct pay provision, or also called elective pay, which provides an opportunity for tax-exempt entities to benefit from tax credits that previously only were available for for-profit companies and private developers that have a tax liability. So this means that local and municipal governments, as well as nonprofit and community organizations, now have access to these federal funds directly, which in turn has the potential to foster the development of public and community-owned projects. And here we really see huge amounts of opportunity for community benefits. Community ownership offers opportunities by allowing a higher proportion of economic gains to go towards bill savings or community reinvestment. And it also opens up practices of energy democracy and co-governance. But this is also new territory for many of these entities compared to for-profit companies, utilities, developers. Most community-facing entities lack the upfront capital, number one, and especially also the expertise to develop community solar and storage projects. So in order to be successful, many will need additional financial and technical support, and really think the state has a huge role that they can play there. So that's why we recommended that the state set aside funding from the Solar for All program to go toward a revolving loan fund and technical assistance that can be specifically targeted towards supporting the build out of community-owned projects. And just to emphasize some points that Derek and others have made, really believe that a strong community solar and storage program in California is a crucial way to include renters and low-income residents across the state in the benefits of clean energy development. So we're calling on the California Public Utilities Commission and Governor Newsom's administration to move quickly. And really the timing is urgent because the federal funding is available now and we need a workable program now. And calling on them to develop and invest in a working community solar and storage program that can equitably bring these benefits to communities that have borne the greatest burden of the fossil fuel economy and fossil fuel pollution. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Matt.
Thanks, Zach. My name is Matt Friedman, and I'm a staff attorney with the Utility Reform Network. We're an independent nonprofit ratepayer advocacy organization representing the interests of residential customers throughout the state of California, customers of the utilities. And I'm happy to be here today to discuss the opportunity for California to take a leadership role in the development of a new community renewable energy program model. For the last 2 years, TURN has worked closely with the coalition represented on this call to support the enactment of AB 2316 in Sacramento and to push for meaningful implementation of a new program at the California Public Utilities Commission. In our view, California needs a viable community renewable energy program. It's long overdue. The existing voluntary subscription programs that are offered by the utilities, the private investor-owned utilities, are failing. Unfortunately, the California utilities are not motivated to make these programs work in a manner that both guarantees the development of new clean energy resources and provides bill discounts to subscribers. The utilities' preference is to ask customers to pay premium prices to participate in programs that result in no additional procurement or production of renewable energy. The meaningless programs proposed by the utilities are a dead end, and they'd set back progress on clean energy policy in California. By comparison, the AB 2316 approach would allow widespread customer participation and stimulate the rapid deployment of new energy storage and solar projects. By valuing the output of community renewable energy projects using the avoided cost calculator, the same method used by the Public Utilities Commission to value distributed energy resources and exported solar energy from new net energy metering customers, the AB 2316 program would ensure that subscribers receive fair value and non-participating customers aren't forced to subsidize these projects. As noted, a major problem with existing distributed energy resource programs is the fact that they're effectively limited to participation by homeowners. If you don't own your home, it's pretty unlikely you'll be able or want to install generation or storage on your property. But in California, many utility customers aren't homeowners. 45% of Californians rent, so almost half of all customers are simply not able to participate in behind-the-meter programs. But when it comes to low-income customers, that number rises to 2/3. That means only a small fraction of existing low-income customers can benefit from our existing programs. AB 2316 would flip the script on distributed energy resource program objectives by prioritizing the enrollment of low-income renters. Under the law, at least 51% of the program capacity has to be subscribed by low-income customers. This revolutionary requirement appropriately focuses on promoting equity and benefiting low-income and working-class families. In addition, funding through the Solar for All program creates the opportunity to use federal resources to bring down the costs of new solar and storage projects and increase the bill savings provided to low-income subscribers. And these savings are critical to address the crisis of affordability caused by skyrocketing electricity rates, as noted a minute ago by Alexis. In the pending PUC proceeding, Turn proposed giving preference for purposes of outside funding to community benefit partner projects that involve participation by local governments. These projects could provide additional benefits to local communities in the form of resiliency centers, EV charging stations, and public ownership opportunities. As Zach noted, recent changes in the structure of federal tax credits enable public ownership by putting public entities on a level playing field with private developers. California should seize this opportunity by tailoring a program that encourages public ownership of these facilities. The AB 2316 program is designed to aggressively deploy distribution-level renewable energy projects that include energy storage. Turn and the other parties on this call have proposed requiring that each eligible project include at least 4 hours of energy storage for each megawatt of solar capacity. Energy storage is critical to providing maximum benefits to the grid and ensuring that these projects are contributing to meet demand during peak hours, especially in the late summer when the grid is facing periods of the greatest stress. The opportunity to quickly add grid-connected energy storage to the system would provide both short and long-term benefits to the grid. And because the program doesn't require renewable energy projects to be placed on the customer's own property, we expect the new generation to be located at more optimal locations on the distribution system. And this approach has two benefits. First, optimal placement limits the need for distribution system upgrades and should result in superior grid benefits. And second, the reliance on distribution interconnection avoids growing challenges with timely transmission interconnections, where new projects are facing increasing delays to get connected to the California system. And finally, California building code requirements under Title 24 require solar to be installed on new homes. But not all new homes are suitable for solar. The AB 2316 program can be used to allow new homes to meet the Title 24 requirements by subscribing to a community renewable energy facility, an approach that provides superior grid value and holds non-participating customers indifferent. The PUC has a historic opportunity to endorse a new path for customer participation in shared renewable energy projects. We are hoping that they will do the right thing and adopt the AB 2316 program as proposed by Turn, CCSA, and many of the other groups participating in this coalition. So let me pass it on to Marian now from NRDC.
Thank you. Marian Borgeson. I'm California Director for the Climate and Clean Energy Program at the Natural Resources Defense Council. I think most of what has been said already well by the previous speakers. I don't think it's every day that you have this type of coalition telling the state that this is the solution that's needed for so many different reasons. So I think that in and of itself is very notable. I mean, just to put a point on it, to meet our 2045 goals, we need to build a massive amount of clean energy. And this build out needs to be thoughtful, strategic. It's going to require bold approaches that include both utility scale and distributed resources, including these sort of mid-sized resources of community solar plus storage. And the sad thing is that California is a leader in so many ways, but California is not currently ready to take advantage of community solar. That's just a fact. There's so many other states ahead of us on this. And it's time that we got our act together and really had a program that works for our communities, for the developers, for getting our clean energy targets met. It's vital because community solar can offer all these range of benefits that we just heard about. Another aspect to mention is that community solar can be built on commercial roofs, in brownfields, and smaller locations connected to the distribution grid, as Matt just mentioned, in more strategic ways that means not raising cost of the electric system. It also puts less pressure on building in natural and protected lands or requiring everyone to own their own homes and their own rooftops. And as was also mentioned, community solar is able to offer a reliability solution. Under the tariffs that we've been promoting at the PUC, there would be storage combined with the solar that would allow us to meet our net peak demands. The state has recently decided to fund the extension of several old gas power plants for reliability reasons. This cannot be the state's standard operating procedure going forward, period. And rather than subsidizing old, dirty plants to keep the lights on, the state should be investing in new community resources. This is a huge opportunity for the state. It's before the commission. There's this amazing bill that was passed last session, and now the opportunity to make some real progress on this. And we're calling on the PUC and the state leadership to really move this forward in an expedited way. So really appreciate everyone's time, and I'll pass it back to Emerald. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. That was all very helpful information. So we are going to open it up to questions now. And the first one I'm going to give to Matthew. It's more of a logistical question. What is the best way to get notified by the PUC immediately following their guidance issuance?
Right. So there's three questions in here. I'm happy to take them in order if that makes sense. This is from Dan Leary. The PUC is currently considering whether to adopt the program that many parties on this call have proposed, or whether to instead adopt what I would consider to be meaningless alternative programs proposed by the utilities. And the status of the proceeding is that we all submitted 3 rounds of testimony earlier this year, which is quite a lot. We then all submitted opening and reply briefs, and then parties responded with 2 rounds of comments in response to a ruling from the judge requesting additional input after the submission of briefs. At this point, what we're waiting for is the issuance of a proposed decision by the administrative law judge. Could come anytime. It's pretty hard to predict exactly when the PUC will act. But if individuals or organizations want to be kept abreast of latest developments, you should sign up for the service list in the proceeding. And the proceeding number is A2205022. You can go to the PUC website, ask to be added to the list. And when the proposed decision is issued, you'll be notified with an email. At that point, parties will have 20 days to submit opening comments and 5 days after that to submit reply comments. And hopefully 30 days after the proposed decision is issued, the commission will vote on it. That's kind of the process for next steps. And we are hopeful that we will see a proposed decision soon with final commission action on a final decision well before the end of this year. That is certainly our hope. And the last question was whether utilities are accepting applications for projects. They are not, because the program has not yet been adopted. Therefore, it does not exist except as an idea. But if the commission does adopt the program that we've requested, then that queue would get created and the program would go live as soon as possible.
Great, thank you. So I have a question for Derek. How important is the timing of all of this? If the applications for the EPA funding are due October 12th, and how competitive is California compared with other applicants?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. You know, the timing is absolutely critical. The EPA wants to see states moving in the right direction. They want to see states moving towards Justice 40 initiatives set in federal guidelines. They want to see, plans in place for a robust program that includes community solar program that's scalable, that reaches as many low-income households as possible. And the program that we've put forward as a coalition achieves all that. So this is all part and parcel of just timing that is absolutely relevant right now. It's going to be an incredibly competitive process. The amount of monies are almost 6 times oversubscribed from what the US EPA has. So it's just imperative that the state of California has an application for these Solar for All dollars that addresses all these needs. And there's only one proposal that achieves all that, and that's the community solar plus storage proposal that we put forward as a group.
Thank you. And then moving back to Mike's question about the best way to get notified by the PUC following their guidance issuance. Oh, you feel good on that one? Okay, Mike. So then the next one is the PUC guaranteed to implement a program? What happens if the CPUC does not do so by the end of the year? Zach and Alexis, do you want to answer that one?
I can just share that, and others can hop in here. I think it's not technically guaranteed that there would be a new program. What AB 2316 requires is to evaluate the existing green share programs that the state currently offers that I think some of us may have spoken to have been failing in various ways and really not reaching and scaling the communities we need them to serve for various reasons. And so the AB 2316 requires the commission to evaluate those programs and consider modifications to them and or create a new program. I think all of us on this call are definitely supportive of creating a brand new scalable program that can actually work and get projects off the ground in the communities that most need them. However, I think that there would be a very concerning outcome to not see a new program established, even if the commission adopt some modifications to kind of the patchwork of piecemeal programs that have been failing. We still don't think, well, we actually know that that still would not enable the kind of scale in order that could meet the various goals that we outlined in terms of retiring peaker gas plants, getting the millions of low-income renters on an option for solar savings, and other opportunities for even thinking about the community ownership piece we mentioned as well. So that is a huge, that would be a huge disappointment for environmental justice to not see California really step up and create a new program as soon as possible, so we can also direct the federal funding to that program.
Thank you. And then our last question, because of time, regarding energy storage, could you please speak more about the proposed 4-hour requirement per megawatt of solar? Are there proposed to be any exemptions for instances where AHJs will not permit energy storage systems? I don't know if Marian or Derek can take this one.
I'll let Derek do it because I haven't been that involved in that piece.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good question. As Matt mentioned in his conversation, a 4-hour requirement that really helps get us the clean energy during peak hours when we need it the most. It's an issue the state's been grappling with, and community solar and storage plays a part in addressing that conundrum. It allows us to meet those peak hours, which can, under this proposal, float depending on if those peak hours change over the course of time. That was a key component of the proposal that the group came together in support of. As of right now, there are no exemptions for the instances as the viewer outlined, but the 4-hour storage really is kind of the key component, and is frankly something that is proposed in this solution that doesn't currently exist. And that's important consideration for the PUC moving forward, is that the current programs just don't meet that requirement, don't meet that capacity that we currently need.
Thank you. Matthew, did you want to also touch on this?
Yeah, I think part of the question that was asked was whether there'd be exemptions for projects that are in locations where there are some kind of local zoning or code restrictions. And the answer is no. The proposal that we put on the table would require all eligible projects to have 4 hours of energy storage on a 1-for-1 basis with the amount of renewable energy capacity. And this is critical, as Derek mentioned, in order to get the reliability benefits and to displace fossil generation on the system. You need to have a renewable energy resource that can provide firm capacity during, in particular, the 4 peak hours in the late afternoon and evening during the summer and fall periods. And if you can't do that, then we're not going to be using these projects to displace new generating capacity from fossil resources, and we're not going to be able to use it to retire existing fossil generation. You know, the market has moved, and the policies have tracked that movement to prioritize firm renewable energy capacity during key hours. And all of our program designs should focus on achieving that outcome. The reality is that standalone solar without paired energy storage just provides much lower value to the system. And my organization has really focused on incorporating energy storage requirements into program design across the board, because it provides more value both to the grid and also to participants. And one of the things we've talked about is these community-owned projects that would have energy storage, which I would also note could serve as resiliency centers in the event of outages. So lots of benefits available, and we think this is where the Commission should draw a hard line. And by the way, the utility programs that they've proposed would include no new energy storage, in fact, no new renewable energy capacity at all as a follow-on to their existing program. So we think this approach is a far superior option.
Thank you. And thank you to the panelists for joining us today. This was wonderful. And thank you to the attendees for joining us. Really appreciate everyone being here. Please let me know, attendees, if you'd like to connect with any of our panelists. I can make those connections and yeah, send any questions that you have on your way. But thank you all for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. The webinar will be recorded and sent out afterwards. Yes. So thank you. Have a great day.